Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast. I am Mike Sinopoli, certified nutrition coach, consultant, counselor, call me whatever you would like. On this episode, I would like to go over the most effective way that I believe it is to construct a meal. And you can make a full meal plan out of this. You can make this your new way of constructing meals for yourself. This is basically going to be body composition related to kind of hit your goal. So what you want to do first when you're going to sit down and figure out a meal, before anything, you have to know your daily caloric intake that is best for what you're going for. So if you're going for muscle building, you're going to want to be in a calorie surplus. If you're just cruising on maintenance level, you're going to be at a caloric maintenance level. And if you are trying to lose fat, you'll want to be in what we call a calorie deficit. So once you've determined those numbers, and you can do that yourself, you can do that with a nutrition coach or however else that works with a trainer. You want those numbers and understand where they're at. And there may be some play with those a little bit back and forth to get it right, but you should be pretty in the ballpark once you've taken on a coach or used a calculator to determine that, as long as your lifestyle goes along with what you've put into the system. So you know that, and then you can construct meals to hit those targets, mainly your calorie range, which is wherever you're at for your goal, like we said, or your protein target, which is also going to be very important, which I'll get to later, and then carbs and fat. That all is going to fit into that to construct this meal. What you want to understand is that it's not just putting together the healthiest foods you can find. You are going to want to go ahead and put things in that you enjoy and you like to make this meal taste good too. It's not just for your own physical being and everything like that, because if you're not enjoying it, I don't know how sustainable this is going to be. So let's figure out how to make a sustainable meal, something like that, a process that you can do and create variety and kind of keep that as the standard. What I like to do myself is eat in bowl form. So like I will do a lot of bowl related meals. If that confuses you, that's more or less sort of like if you go to Chipotle, instead of the burrito, I do the bowl. And that kind of got big, I believe, due to the carbohydrate scare that everyone was put into. And as I've said ad nauseum before on this podcast and on social media, that we don't need to fear carbs. The reason that I do this is to add volume and higher protein than what you can fit in a wrap, because you're only limited with a wrap. It's going to be a source of carbs, and you're limited to how much protein can go in there. I'm not saying that can't be used, but it's just sometimes a solid way to elevate the protein content in a meal and add more volume so you could eat more food. And that's what I like to do. I like to sit down to a giant bowl of food. That's what I love. That's been working for me for years. So to kind of go about that, the first thing you really want to do is select a protein source. So that could be skinless chicken breast, chicken thighs, steak, ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, some sort of fish, shrimp, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you're tracking everything, you can get it figured out. And this is what a nutrition coach will help you do as well if you're confused at this point. So you select your protein, okay? Usually you're going to want to be, I would say each meal should be anywhere between 30 to 40 grams of protein. That's not because of protein assimilation. That just seems to be a good amount to consume. You can go up to 50 grams, 60, whatever works for you. It's going to be different for men and women, for people who are larger or smaller. It's all going to matter on that. So what you want to do, though, is assure that every day you're hitting your protein target, which is about 0.8 to 1 gram of your lean mass or your goal weight. So knowing that, you can divide it up however you want, whatever works best for you. Use some from snacks and just figure out the meal from there. So select your protein, and then from there, what you're going to want to do is go with your carbohydrates and vegetables next. So let's say you want to do some sort of like steak rice bowl. So you selected steak, you got about 40 grams of protein there. Then you're going to factor in your rice. Then you want to watch your intake of things like rice and pasta, because cooked versus not is very different. So when you have a serving of dry rice and it's about half a cup, it says it on there, or 46 grams, which you want to do more often than not, look at the grams than the cups and tablespoon sizes. That's more accurate. What that's going to do is increase in weight by about 3 times. Because the water absorbs after you've cooked, so it's a lot more. So don't shortchange yourself those carbs that you're going to want to eat. So know that and add that in. So you got steak and rice, then you throw in your vegetables, whatever you think is going to go well in there, onions, broccoli, zucchini, whatever you think, and factor that in. And then you want to add in usually fat, seasonings, and sauces next. A fat could be some avocado, could be cheese, it could be whatever goes in with the meal, but I like to limit that because fat is more calorie dense than carbs and protein. So with that, I use about a serving or so, nothing more than a serving of cheese, serving of olive oil, which all runs about 100 to 125 calories throughout the meal. It adds a lot of flavor. It adds some excitement to it. It helps the taste. And then same thing with seasonings and sauces. You just check them out. Usually they're very low. Look for the lower calorie ones, stuff with flavor. Sodium can get a little out of control with certain stuff, especially like a soy sauce or teriyaki. So look out for those just to be sure. Sodium is not the devil. It's not evil. But there is science behind it that too much sodium can lead to hypertension. So keep that in mind before you just gob your food with salt everywhere. Use some, and your taste buds will adjust if you're eating high sodium diet right now. Find what's comparable. So like if you are using one type of cheese, buy like a few if you get bored. So just make sure that they're very similar. About 28 grams for 100 calories or so is a usual cheese measurement. It can be as low as 70 for 28 grams or 110, 120, depends on the type. So factor that in for yourself to change it up. Seasonings and sauces as well, especially like hot sauces. There's different flavors. There's salsas that are different, tomato sauces. Buy a variety if you get bored. And, that'll last you a while, and it'll keep things interesting. So that's kind of what I'll do. And then I'll keep everything, usually for me personally, and again, this differs for everybody, I'll keep my meals around 500 calories, 40 to 50 grams of protein. That's usually what I like. It can work however is best for you. You can eat 2 meals with more protein, more calories. You can eat 4, 6, whatever, and factor in snacks with that, like protein bars, even beef jerky, Greek yogurt, things like that have high protein content to help you hit that goal. That's where you want to be. So with the bowl form, it's really easy if you've prepped your food beforehand. Like I like to do any meat I make, chicken, steak, ground beef, whatever it is. I make that all in one day. I think that's the easiest way to go, as long as you can stomach reheated food. It doesn't have to be microwaved. You can do that on the stove. I definitely think having that protein ready is ideal and almost necessary, because with the way life is and people get busy and lose track of time and everything like that, to not have that ready to go, you're not going to stop and open a package of ground beef, cook it all up, and go that route. Usually people don't have enough time for that. So having that ready to go and being able to be reheated is ideal. So you want to cook all that beforehand. I don't like to cook rice beforehand because I feel like it hardens too quick and isn't very, very good. But luckily they have instant rice that can be put together relatively quick. Maybe keep that for more of a dinner type thing when you're home. Or whenever's most convenient for you. Pasta I definitely would cook in advance. It reheats pretty well and tastes the same and doesn't harden as much as rice. Other things like potatoes, I would definitely just see what's easiest for you. Potatoes in the oven, chopped up, taste the best to me, but they take more time. You can also microwave a potato, small, depending on the size, anywhere between from 3 to 5 minutes in the microwave, and that'll soften enough. The taste suffers a bit to me because I like the crunch more and the baked taste on there, more like a French fry type, but this will taste more like a mashed potato in a way, but it still works and still gets the job done and satiates you for what's needed in less time. So that's the way I would kind of go about those types of foods. And once you've got that down and everything together, make it fun. It doesn't have to be boring. I do taco bowls. I do Mediterranean bowls. I got them on my website or on my Facebook. And it's all just whatever you want to do, like Asian themed. It could be whatever appeals to you. You just be creative and, or hit me up. I got so many ideas because I don't like to eat food that sucks. I like to eat something that tastes really good. I've taken fast food items like the Dorito Loco taco, the Double Decker taco, the Big Mac, cheeseburgers, things like that, and I've created a bowl form of those that are comparable. And it can be eaten every day, and it's pretty good. It's maybe a taste adjustment to some. Depends on what your diet's like right now. Some people resist this. Some people think it's weird. I've been called weird for eating food out of a bowl and not getting a traditional sandwich, fries, and a drink. And that's just me. I don't want to eat like that. I think that's just a standard that's happened, and it's how we're supposed to eat. I don't do that. I don't care. And I think this is a more advantageous way to eat for our health and for our wallet too. I mean, if you can buy enough food for the week that's very similar and keep things that last long, like hot sauces and things like that, they'll last you weeks. And carbs are cheap. Potatoes and rice, even though we're seeing food price increases, they're a bag of potatoes last you a week and cost you $6. A box of rice as well. You can get all your carbohydrates for the week for under $20, in my opinion. Save the rest for the protein. That's either way you're saving. So that's kind of how I like to go about it, to construct a meal. And that's typically how I'll do things. I will go for some low-cal tortillas, bread, things like that at times as well. But again, you want to keep the protein high. And again, eating out of a bowl does let you limit the carbohydrates that go in there. And I can't stress it enough. That doesn't demonize the carbs. That doesn't mean that they're bad. It's strictly to prioritize the protein content in the meal. It almost should always, as long as you're hitting your targets daily, that's all that matters. But having a few meals where protein is the leading macro is going to be extremely helpful for you in achieving your fat loss goal and your muscle building goal. And that protein count gets a little bit pushed aside for fat loss goals. It's just people don't understand the importance of a certain percentage of your day, usually around 30 or 35% of your daily intake needs to be protein. That's just so beneficial for everything. That's keeping your metabolism up, holding on to your muscle mass as is to keep your shape and keep you strong and healthy and going. So don't neglect it. It doesn't seem important because your brain is so wired to just burn fat. So all it wants to do is eat, starve, and run. And that's the worst way to go about fat loss. It's not only a very crappy way for sustainability, but it's not the most effective physically either. You're going to want to strength train, do some cardio, eat within your calorie deficit, and hit that protein target. And when you're in your calorie deficit and you've hit your protein target, you don't have to even think too much about your carbs or fat because they'll fall right into place. It's foolproof. So like if you're in that calorie deficit range and your protein content are hit, by default, fat and carbs will hit where they need to be, even if they're not exact to where your macros are run, because they might be an even split. And if you like fat more than carbs, you can do a little bit higher percentage of fat. You can do a little bit higher percentage of carbs if you prefer that. Again, nutrient-wise, that could change. Watch your saturated fats and your higher glycemic carbs if you have any certain issues with triglycerides or with your blood sugar. So that's kind of how I do it. I know this is pretty short in a way to explain it. I don't want to sit here and bore everybody with how to construct a meal in a bowl, but I think it's very advantageous. So if you're listening to this and you want to get in touch with me and hear more about that and how I construct those for myself and for clients, you can find me on social media. That's either going to be Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at MFS Wellness, or you can shoot me an email, mike@mfswellness.com. So any inquiries you got, just however is easiest for you to get a hold of me, just go for it. And I'm always happy to talk. So until we come back with the next podcast episode, I want to thank everybody who listens. It means a ton to me. I've been on a bit of a hiatus here since I've been moving, and I'm doing this one here from my new home office. This is the first one, so we'll see how it sounds. But thank you, and we will talk to you and the next one. Thank you.